So as the day is proceeding, we are talking about investment, asset classes, gold we have talked about, mutual funds we have talked about, alternative investment funds, that is AIF, is something which we want to understand in detail. And that is a presentation beautifully presented by Mr. Ramashray Yadav. He's founder and CEO, Integri AMC. I welcome Ram sir to please come on the stage and deliberate on alternative investment funds, redefining the investment landscape for a new era of opportunities.
So, there are a lot of slides here, but I thought rather than engaging with you with the slides, I would speak and directly talk to you to understand how well you were fed during the lunch and whether you are attentive. So, my subject given is alternatives as new era of investment tools. And I thought, let me start with one question. How many of you have ever invested in an AIF or in an alternative fund? Directly? Okay, one person. And how many of you have distributed an AIF product? Anyone? Okay, one. Okay. So I have a tough job to then sell through the AIF. I have two people who understand AIF. But it is also easier in that way, because then I understand that it's better to understand why you should think about AIF. Now, as the name itself suggests, alternatives, which basically means that investments beyond the common equities, debt, insurance, gold, commodities, through specialized asset managers, where there is a scheme drafted, the scheme is then put to SEBI for approval, then there is a fit and proper, there is a trust in which you subscribe that money for the units. And in India, that amount of alternatives is minimum 1 crore. You cannot invest less than that. As per SEBI guidelines, anybody who has investable surplus of more than 5 crore is considered to be eligible to invest in AIFs. So that's the first thing, right? Now, how many people here advise to wealthy clients who have investable surplus of more than 5 crore? Okay, now it's okay. So now at least it's increasing. The population is increasing. So lovely. Now that's basically how you start thinking about AIF. Now, how the AIF really works. So I talked about the scheme. There are underlying assets where an investment manager does private investment. And private investment means that it is not public equities, but then there are structured products. These products are structured as equities. These products are structured as debt. They are in form of NCDs, equity, or OCD. And I hope you understand what are these different forms of investment when you put money in a company. Now that brings to me that what could be this AIF money gets invested in. One is, of course, structured equity products, structured debt products, and in debt, largely it's real estate, because when it comes to debt, all you need is an underlying security. So largely it could be residential, commercial, it could be even the factories and all. Specifically coming to real estate investments through AIFs makes much more sense if you try and understand. So real estate में जो पैसा लगता है institutions का, that is, there are three basic sources. One is banks, second is NBFCs, and third is AIFs. And there is a fourth one जिसको आप लोग हुंडी बोलते हैं, NCDs, जो अब धीरे-धीरे बंद हो गया, because a lot of people got stuck with that money where they were directly putting the money to the developers without a formal structure of security, management, and monitoring. Am I clear till this? Okay. Uh, Now, how do we invest the money? So what we do is, if I talk about residential, in residential projects, what we do is we take the mortgage of the land, we take the securities, which is basically the shareholding को भी mortgage करते हैं, we take personal guarantee, and then we invest that money through NCDs. So the fund trust holds the NCDs through which we invest in this different residential and commercial projects. That is the working capital that we do. Now, why do we do that, and why NBFC cannot do, or why a bank cannot do that? Where is that need? So that need you need to understand is not only from perspective कि जिस डेवलपर को बैंक भी पैसा नहीं दे रही है और NBFC भी नहीं दे रही है इसलिए उसको AIF दे रही है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. जनरली रियल एस्टेट में जो पैसा लगता है, जब बैंक पैसा देती है तो बैंक देखती है कि आपके पास लैंड पूरी तरह से अपनी इक्विटी से पे करके ही लिया हुआ हो. यू कैन नॉट यूज बैंक मनी फॉर बाइंग लैंड. दैट्स नंबर वन कंडीशन. नंबर टू कंडीशन, then you need to have all the permissions and premiums paid for. Otherwise, the bank will not give you the money. The third is that you must have completed at least 20% of construction out of your own equity before the bank gives you the money. Now, if you look at the real estate model, if you do so much, then you don't need bank. Because maximum cost is land. The second maximum cost is permissions, and then 20% you don't need to do. You put the board, there are residential apartments, they get sold. So a AIF is needed only where the bank cannot fund or bank does not fund. And that's why in real estate, AIFs have started to become now very, very prevalent. And it is a much safer investment compared to any other form of investment if you compare it to equities. Equities is liquid for sure, but when it comes to real estate, specifically working capital led AIFs, the certainty is much, much higher. आपका upside capped होता है. You know that you will make 20, 21%, 22%, but not beyond that. तो client को जो asset manager है उसकी fee निकाल के somewhere between 14 to 16% का पैसा मिल जाता है. That's the first one. The second myth, and I thought that we'll also talk about, the second myth is that AIFs or alternatives are very illiquid. They are not illiquid, so to say. 5 से 7 साल के लिए आप पैसा लगाते हैं, it is closed end. But what happens is the NAV gets published every quarter, and now there are many asset managers who are publishing their NAVs even monthly. And if the NAV is published and it is transparent enough, you also get the secondary market where you can exit. It was not happening, but it has started happening, and the reason is very simple. AIFs India में 2012 में आए हैं. Till 2020 AIF का industry size 2 लाख से 2.25 लाख करोड़ था. And as we speak today, that size is close to about 9.5 lakh crore. This is the only investment class which has grown by more than 60% year on year since its existence. And the reason that growth is that rather than exploring private opportunities by your own self and burning your hand without understanding that you need to have a specialized monitoring and evaluation and everything, you go through the AIF route. So that's the basic tenet of AIF. अब इतनी बड़ी इंडस्ट्री हो गई है, 9.5 लाख करोड़ is a huge money, and even if it grows at a 20-25% from here, you all know that it will soon catch up with the mutual fund industry. And there is no doubt, I mean, if it is 62%, these are the public numbers, there's no doubt that we'll be soon close to about 50 lakh crore in size in AIF. You all are in some ways learning the financial instruments. You are all in some ways distributing the financial instruments. It makes much more sense for you to take a note and try and start warming up to your clients' needs and understand that how they can make the best out of this category of investment. There is a lot of technology at play, even at AIF's level, when even the private money gets managed. There is a process, there is a security mechanism, there is a transparency. And that's why AIF business is considered to be the true fiduciary business. So, from your client's perspective, जब आप सोचते हैं कि अच्छा अब AIF में पैसा लगाना है किसी asset manager के ऊपर, तो there are 2-3 checks that you need to have. The first check is the asset manager specializing in a particular area of alternative that he deals with? अगर वो रियल एस्टेट कर रहा है तो क्या उसको रियल एस्टेट, कंस्ट्रक्शन, सेल्स, मार्केटिंग, टेक्नोलॉजी की समझ है या नहीं है? दिस इज वेयर लॉट ऑफ फंड मैनेजर्स इनिशियली व्हेन 2012 इट स्टार्टेड हैव गॉन रॉन्ग, बिकॉज आपकी एक बड़ी बैंक है, आपका वेल्थ आउटफिट है, आपने एक असेट मैनेजमेंट का भी बिजनेस चालू कर दिया, आपको लगा जैसे नॉर्मल बैंकिंग होती है, क्रेडिट होती है, वैसे ये भी हो जाएगी, पर वैसा नहीं होता है. एंड दैट्स वन ऑफ द रीजंस दैट लॉट ऑफ फंड मैनेजर्स failed miserably in early stage of AIFs. And you need to be very, very careful of this, because AIFs, the reason that there has been this issues also because if somebody follows the SEBI's compliance framework of publishing the data once in a quarter, you need to ask a lot of questions that how have they arrived on that NAV? What is the certainty of that NAV? It's like if you have a stock, right? अगर वो उसका 1200 रुपए का भाव है मार्केट में, तो आप जाके उसका एटलीस्ट वॉल्यूम तो देखते हैं ना, डिलीवरी वॉल्यूम देखते हैं, टू नो when I have to sell whether it will get sold. Similarly, when it comes to AIF, you need to see that what is the level of transparency, dashboards presented to support that NAV. If it is a simple NAV, as advisors to investors, you should go and ask more and more questions. I have seen a lot of distributors I talk to, वो ये तो पूछ लेते हैं कि अच्छा आपका एक्सपीरियंस क्या है, बट आपको पता है म्यूचुअल फंड में भी एक वो आता है ना कि पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस इज नॉट द गारंटी ऑफ फ्यूचर. I think when it comes to AIF and when it comes to investing that money, you should ask that question, the most relevant question after the experience of the fund manager and the fund management team is that how well they support their NAV disclosure with what kind of dashboards. And unfortunately in India, because भाई जब तक कोई पूछता नहीं है तो बताना क्यों वाला अप्रोच है, asset management industry is still evolving. It will evolve to its best and become globally competitive if you guys ask that question. So that's one responsibility that lies in your hand. Don't only read it from the beauty of presentations and the colors. Don't go by, the star power of the fund manager and how many times he appears in CNBC and Bloomberg. Go by how they are supporting the NAV calculation that they have and what kind of dashboards are they putting to show that there is a certainty in that NAV. If this is solved, I think alternatives will become as strong, as robust as mutual fund business in India. And that responsibility of questioning and querying lies in your hands, and I'm sure you'll do that well. So with that, I'll leave the forum to questions. There is a detailed presentation of what is the size, what is real estate size, and why real estate will grow in the presentation, which I'll request the team to put online for your knowledge, understanding, and consumption. But I'll go ahead and leave you to ask any question you want to.
Thank you so much, Ram sir, for the wonderful, insights on AIF. So for being here, we would like to give a vote of thanks to you.